We are here today because we believe in a better future. Together, we can make that change a reality. My mother is a logistics coordinator. She manages supply chains for companies that pay her half of what they pay the men beside her.
The microphone squealed. Zara Brooks didn't flinch. She was 8 years old, standing at a podium built for adults. Her box braids pinned back with a single gold clip. Her eyes sweeping the packed auditorium of Seoul's most prestigious technology forum, like she owned every seat in it. The audience shifted. Parents exchanged glances. Someone whispered in Korean, something dismissive, something about her age, her size, her being there at all. Zara heard it. She leaned into the microphone. "I'll wait," she said clearly, "until you're done deciding whether I'm worth listening to." Dead silence. Then she smiled, not the smile of a nervous child, but the smile of someone who had already won. "My mother is a logistics coordinator. She manages supply chains for companies that pay her half of what they pay the men beside her. She works 12-hour days and comes home and teaches me to code, because she says knowledge is the one thing people can't repossess." Zara held up a slim device, compact, custom-built, its casing scratched, but its screen alive with moving data. "I built this. It maps resource distribution gaps in underserved Seoul districts and auto-generates funding proposals that have already secured 3 community tech centers." The auditorium was absolutely still. "I'm not here to impress you," Zara continued. "I'm here because the people my mother works beside every day deserve access to the same tools this room takes for granted. And I'm going to build those tools whether you fund me or not." The applause started in the back and rolled forward like a wave. But in the far left corner of the auditorium, one man didn't clap. Shin Jae-won sat completely still, his breath caught somewhere between his ribs and his throat. The child's jaw, the way she angled her chin when she was daring the world to argue, the way her left hand tapped 3 times against the podium when she paused to think. His hand, his gesture, his jaw. "No, sir." His assistant, Woo Sungmin, leaned close. "You've gone pale." Jae-won couldn't answer. His eyes were locked on the gold clip in the child's hair, not the clip itself, but the small jade piece attached to it. A dragon coiled. Jade, so dark it was almost black. His family seal. The one his mother had given him the year he turned 20. The one he'd lost in Washington, D.C. 7 years ago at a technology summit that had changed everything and nothing. "Sungmin." His voice came out like gravel. "Find out who her mother is. Now, if you're already hooked, you're not alone. Comment the word Zara below if you need to see what happens next. And subscribe, because this story is only getting started." Caroline Brooks found out someone had been asking about her on a Tuesday morning. She was standing in the Nova Bridge Technologies building, reviewing a logistics audit she'd been hired to consult on, when her phone buzzed with a message from a number she didn't recognize. "Ms. Brooks, my employer would like to meet with you regarding your daughter's work. This is not a recruitment call. It is urgent." Caroline stared at the message for a long time. Then she forwarded it to her sister in Atlanta with one line: "If I go missing, start here." She replied to the unknown number: "Tell your employer I choose my own meetings. He can find me at the Forum Public Networking Session, Thursday, 6 p.m., out in the open." She put her phone away and went back to her audit, but her hands weren't entirely steady. She knew the name Shin Jae-won. Everyone in Seoul's tech corridor knew it. Nova Bridge Technologies was his legitimate face: clean financials, award-winning accessibility programs, press coverage that was almost too flattering. But behind it, older and heavier, sat Shin Capital Group. And Shin Capital Group had a reputation that didn't need explaining. Caroline had spent 4 years in Seoul building a life that was entirely her own. She hadn't come this far to be summoned. She went Thursday. She chose a table in the center of the networking hall, surrounded by people, bright lights, cameras from 3 different media outlets covering the forum. Jae-won arrived exactly at 6. He was taller than his photographs. His suit was understated in the way that only very expensive things could be. He looked at her across the crowded room, and something moved across his face: recognition, shock, guilt. So fast she almost missed it. She didn't miss it. "Ms. Brooks." He sat across from her without being invited. Thank you for the venue choice. I thought you'd appreciate it, she said evenly. Very hard to make threats in front of cameras. Something flickered at the corner of his mouth. I'm not here to threaten you. Then say what you came to say. J1 placed a photograph on the table between them. Zara at the podium. The jade clip visible in her hair. Where did she get that? He asked quietly. Caroline looked at the photograph. Then at him. A networking event. Washington, D.C. 7 years ago. A man left it in a hotel corridor outside a summit dinner. Zara found it when she was a baby and never let it go. The silence between them stretched long enough to become its own conversation. I was at that summit, J1 said. I know. You knew. I figured it out 6 months ago when I saw your face on a Nova Bridge press release. Caroline's voice was calm, surgical. I've been waiting to see what you'd do with the information. J1 stared at her. You've known for 6 months and said nothing? I had nothing to gain from saying something. Zara has a good life. She doesn't need complications. She's my daughter. She's my daughter, Caroline said, her voice dropping to something quiet and absolute. You were a stranger in a corridor. I raised her. J1 absorbed that. His jaw worked. I want to be part of her life. That's not a decision you get to make alone. I understand. He leaned forward. But there's something you need to know. My family, my father and my brother, they've already identified Zara. They had me followed. They know. The hair rose on Caroline's arms. She kept her face still. And what does that mean? She asked. It means she's already in their calculations. J1's voice was controlled, but underneath it something raw was bleeding through. Shin Capital Group doesn't leave loose variables alone. Ms. Brooks. To my father, Zara is either an asset or a liability, and liabilities get managed. Are you threatening my child? I'm warning you. He held her gaze. Because my family is going to move. And when they do, I need you to let me protect you. Caroline looked at him for a long moment. Then she picked up his photograph, slid it back across the table, and stood. Mr. Shin, she said, I appreciate the warning. But I've been protecting Zara without your help for 8 years. I don't need you to rescue us. She picked up her bag. What I might need is information about your family's operations, their pressure points, their exposure. J1 blinked. You want intelligence on Shin Capital Group? I want to understand the battlefield, Caroline said, so that when they move, and yes, I believe you that they will, we're not reacting. We're ready. She left him sitting at the table, cameras flashing around them, her back straight, her steps even. Outside, in the elevator, alone, she pressed her back against the wall and let her hands shake for exactly 30 seconds. Then she straightened up and called Zara. Hey, Mom. Zara's voice was bright, distracted. She was clearly mid-code. How'd it go? Fine, baby. Caroline kept her voice light. How's the resource mapping update coming? Almost done. Hey, Mom. That Shin Nova Bridge guy. I looked him up after the forum. His company's accessibility division has a data architecture that's almost identical to the framework I've been building. Caroline went very still. What do you mean identical? Like, suspiciously identical. Zara's voice sharpened with the particular focus she got when something didn't add up. Either someone at Nova Bridge is very smart and thinking the same way I am, or someone has been watching my open source repository for a long time. How long? Keyboard clicks. A pause. Mom, Zara said slowly. Someone has been pulling from my repository anonymously for 2 years. Caroline closed her eyes. Save everything, she said quietly. Every log, every access timestamp. Don't touch the repository. Just save the data. Mom, what's going on? I'll explain tonight. Caroline pressed the lobby button. Baby, I need you to do one more thing. That data architecture you said was identical. Can you prove it? I can do better than prove it, Zara said. I can trace it. Caroline allowed herself one small, fierce smile. Then start tracing. Something just shifted, and Shin Capital Group has no idea what's coming for them. Like this, if you felt that. Shin Byung-chul held his dinner gatherings like court sessions. Every seat assigned. Every word weighed. Every silence deliberate. Jae-won arrived at the Shin family estate on a Wednesday evening to find his father already seated. His brother Jae-hyuk lounging beside him with the relaxed cruelty of someone who enjoyed what was coming. "You met the American woman," Byung-chul said before Jae-won had fully entered the room. "I did." Jae-won sat, poured his own tea, kept his hands steady. "I warned her to stay out of our family's business. That's not what our people observed." Jae-hyuk smiled. "They said you looked like a man confessing sins. Your people need better training." Jae-won, Byung-chul's voice dropped to the register that had silenced boardrooms for 40 years. "The child is not your concern. Everything attached to this family is my concern." Byung-chul set down his chopsticks with quiet precision. "An illegitimate child. A foreign woman with access to our son's attention and apparently our son's guilt. These are vulnerabilities. And I did not build Shin Capital Group by tolerating vulnerabilities. She's 8 years old, father. She's a thread that unravels everything if pulled by the wrong hands." Byung-chul studied him. "I've already had legal begin drafting a pressure strategy. The woman's work visa, her consulting contracts. These things are fragile." Jae-won's jaw tightened. "You'll leave her alone, or—" Jae-hyuk leaned forward, enjoying himself. "Brother, you forget your position. You run a tech company we fund. You operate under a name we built. You have no leverage here." "I have patience," Jae-won said quietly. "And I have documentation that Shin Capital Group has spent 18 months hoping I forget about." The room chilled. Byung-chul's eyes narrowed. "Be very careful." "I'm always careful." Jae-won stood. "Leave Caroline Brooks and her daughter alone. That's not a request." He left before his father could respond. In the car, Sung-min glanced at him through the rearview mirror. "Sir, was that wise?" "No," Jae-won said. "But it was necessary." He pulled out his phone. "Get me everything we have on Shin Capital's shell structures. The ones routed through the Jeju accounts." "Sir, if they find out you're pulling that, they already know what I'm capable of. They just don't know I'm willing to use it." He stared out the window at Seoul's lights sliding past. It's time they found out. Caroline spread everything across her kitchen table at midnight. Zara sat across from her, her custom tablet connected to 2 additional screens she'd borrowed from a university lab contact. Lines of access data scrolling in neat columns. "Okay," Zara said, her voice the focused quiet she used when a problem was genuinely interesting. "Whoever was pulling from my repository used a rotating proxy chain. Amateur move, actually. Rotating proxies leave timing signatures. Meaning I can see the pull pattern. Same time window every Tuesday and Friday for 22 months. Zara tapped her screen. "And the IP origin points, before they hit the proxy, trace back to a server cluster registered to a company called Bridgepoint Data Solutions." Caroline felt something cold settle in her chest. "And Bridgepoint Data Solutions is a subsidiary," Zara looked up, "of Shin Capital Group." The kitchen was very quiet. "They were stealing your work," Caroline said. "Borrowing without attribution is the polite version." Zara's expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "The Nova Bridge accessibility architecture that launched 8 months ago, the one that won the Korea Innovation Award, is built on my framework, my logic structure, my solution mapping." She paused. "Mom, they filed a patent on it." Caroline pressed both hands flat on the table. "Can you prove the timeline? That yours came first?" "My repository has version-controlled commits going back 3 years. Time-stamped, publicly archived, independently verifiable." Zara pulled up a side-by-side comparison. Her original framework beside the Nova Bridge patent filing. "This isn't similar. This is mine with a different font." Caroline stared at the screen for a long time. Then she thought about Byung-chul, about pressure strategies and visa fragility and a family that managed liabilities. She thought about 12-hour days and Zara teaching herself to code on a second-hand laptop because there was no other option. She thought about every door that had been half opened and then quietly closed. "Zara," she said carefully, "what would happen if this comparison went public? At the Korea Innovation Forum closing ceremony. Tomorrow." Zara blinked. The one with the live press coverage? The one with 6 industry journalists, 2 government technology representatives, and the committee that issued the patent. Caroline met her daughter's eyes. What would happen? Zara was quiet for exactly 4 seconds. Shin Capital Group would have a patent fraud case in front of a live press audience, she said. The Innovation Award would be under immediate review. And NovaBridge's credibility, the thing that makes J1's legitimate business actually legitimate, collapses publicly before Shin Capital can manage the narrative. And you? I'd need to present the evidence clearly, calmly, in front of everyone. Zara tilted her head. Mom, I presented at the forum 2 days ago in front of 400 people. This would be different. This would make powerful people very angry. They're already angry. Zara's chin lifted. That familiar angle. That familiar fire. You always say the only move that matters is the one they're not expecting. Caroline's throat tightened. Her daughter, 8 years old, ready to walk into a room full of power and tell the truth anyway. I need to make a call first, Caroline said. She called J1 at 12:47 a.m. He picked up on the second ring, which told her he hadn't been sleeping either. Ms. Brooks. Caroline, she said, we found something about your family's connection to NovaBridge's Innovation Award filing. A pause. How much did you find? Enough to take to the forum closing ceremony tomorrow. Publicly. She kept her voice even. I'm not calling to ask your permission. I'm calling because if we do this, it touches your company. And I thought you deserved to know before it happens. Another pause. Longer. What do you need from me? He asked. Nothing that compromises you. Just don't get in the way. Caroline. His voice was quiet, careful. My father will retaliate. Not against me. Against you. He was going to anyway. She glanced at Zara, who was already organizing the evidence into a clean presentation structure. Focused and unhurried. I'd rather he retaliates after we've already burned the ground he was standing on. J1 was silent for a moment. Then, I have documentation on the Jeju shell accounts. Financial routing that connects Shin Capital's shadow operations to 4 government contract irregularities. I've been holding it for 3 years. Caroline's breath stilled. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked me not to get in the way. A beat. This is me getting out of the way by handing you the rest of the ammunition. The Korea Innovation Forum closing ceremony began at 10 in the morning. The hall was full. Press in 3 rows. Industry leaders. Patent committee members in the front section. Cameras from 2 national broadcast outlets. Shin Byung-chul sat in the VIP row, composed and unbothered, the way men sit when they believe the room belongs to them. Jae-hyuk was beside him, scrolling his phone, not paying attention. Neither of them noticed Caroline Brooks take a seat near the moderator's table. Neither of them noticed the 8-year-old girl beside her, a tablet in her hands, her box braids pinned back with a gold clip. The ceremony opened. Awards were acknowledged. The NovaBridge accessibility architecture was referenced in the opening remarks as a landmark achievement. Then the moderator opened the floor for a scheduled open innovation segment. Public submissions, community voices, a democratic gesture the forum was known for. Caroline raised her hand. The moderator recognized her. She walked to the front of the room, and Zara walked with her. My name is Caroline Brooks, she said into the microphone. I'm a logistics consultant, and this is my daughter, Zara. She's 8. She'd like to show the committee something. Byung-chul looked up for the first time. Jae-hyuk's phone stopped moving. Zara connected her tablet to the presentation screen. The side-by-side comparison filled the display. Her original framework beside the NovaBridge patent. Time-stamped commits running in a clean column down the left side. This is my work, Zara said clearly. And this is the patent filed by NovaBridge Technologies 8 months ago. The access logs showing 22 months of data pulled from my public repository are in the supplementary document I've already sent to every press contact in this room. The silence lasted approximately 3 seconds. Then the room broke open. Journalists were on their feet. The patent committee chair was leaning across to his colleague. 2 broadcast cameras swung toward the presentation screen. Byung-chul stood. This is fabricated. The repository timestamps are independently archived, Zara said, her voice carrying clearly over the noise, steady as stone. I'm 8. I didn't fabricate anything. I traced it. Caroline stepped forward. We're also submitting to the Korea Fair Trade Commission documentation connecting Shin Capital Group's shell structure to 4 government contract irregularities. That documentation was provided by a corroborating source and will be verified independently. Jae-hyuk grabbed his phone, but there was nothing to call. The journalists already had everything. The committee already had the submission. The cameras were already running. Byung-chul looked across the room, past the chaos, past the cameras, and found Jae-won standing near the back wall. Jae-won met his father's eyes. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, still and steady, and let his father finally see the choice he'd made. Byung-chul's expression didn't collapse. Men like him didn't collapse publicly, but something behind his eyes went out. 3 months later, Zara stood in the newly opened Brooks Shin Community Tech Center in eastern Seoul, the first of 5 planned locations, funded by a Nova Bridge settlement and a government accessibility grant. She was showing a group of 12-year-olds how to build a resource mapping tool from a framework she'd written herself. Caroline stood near the door, watching. Jae-won came to stand beside her. He did that now, showed up quietly, stood beside her, didn't demand anything. She's extraordinary, he said. She always was, Caroline said. You just didn't know yet. I know now. He glanced at her. Are you going to keep making me earn this? Every single day. But the corner of her mouth lifted. You're doing fine. Across the room, Zara looked up and caught them watching her. She rolled her eyes with the particular drama of an 8-year-old who found adults exhausting. Then she grinned. Stop staring at each other, she called, and come help me explain merge conflicts to someone who thinks coding is magic. Jae-won laughed, genuinely, openly, the laugh of a man who was learning how to be free. Caroline walked toward her daughter, and for the first time in a very long time, she wasn't swimming against anything. She was just moving forward. They didn't wait to be rescued. They built the rescue themselves. Comment your favorite moment below. Like if Caroline and Zara gave you chills. And subscribe, because stories about women who fight back and win are exactly what we're here for.